This is hilarious. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. You join me at Loch Leven, and we're going to go on the castle tour to see Castle Island, where Mary Queen of Scots, Robert the Bruce, and reportedly William Wallace, amongst others, have been involved in the vast history of this place. Should be a good tour. As I say, you know you're in Scotland when you've got a cone on top of an aerial. And here we have our mighty craft that's going to take us across to the island. Maximum of 12 people, which I would advise booking in advance to make sure you get on. I think there's about 7 or 8 sailings a day, so you book your time over and then it's first come first served on the way back. So that's us just arrived on the island. Lovely, lovely journey. Mill pond, honestly, calm as a mill pond, like glass it was there. That was fantastic. Nice to see the wildlife and the scenery around here. Wow, look at you. So the first story I have about this castle is that in 1296 the English army came here and were garrisoned here, around about 30 troops. And the story is that in 1298 William Wallace attacked the castle. You know, William Wallace, the Australian guy, freedom! No, not my joking. A very famous person in Scotland's history. There's not a lot of proof that this happened, but there is a couple of stories, depending on which story either rowed across or you waited till the lake itself was frozen and they walked across. Both were surprise attacks. Apparently you routed the place, leading to Scottish control of the castle rather than English control. And this was all part of the, as I say, Scotland's fight for independence, which they're still fighting for to this day. So we're just entering the castle. And this is the north courtyard range, where the troops would have practiced the skills. Actually, a decent sized castle on the inside. It's not as small as you first think. Yeah. One thing I will say is that the level of the water is about 6 foot lower than it was back in the day. They've dammed it just so the island itself is bigger. The original island took up basically, or the castle took up basically the whole of the island at one point, with water up to its walls. So obviously over here you can see, I think it's called Kinross House, and that's where the Douglas family actually moved to. We'll get on to a bit more about the Douglas family, who they occupied the castle for quite some time, but ultimately they moved out to across there, and that's when the castle became abandoned. So here you can actually see the outlines more of a room. So we'll go and find out what it is. And here, so go through the doorway. I assume it's a doorway. It looks like a doorway. And I would say that was some sort of fireplace. This was a kitchen, okay. Traces of the fireplace. Jambs are visible to either side. Within the fireplace are the door trough and the base of the oven. Okay, cool, that makes sense. Yeah. Very important part of the castle or any building is the kitchen, obviously. Can't feed the troops, can't feed the people who live here without it. So we're just going to go up the ramparts and then I'll tell you a bit more of the history of the castle when we get up here. It's amazing to think that you could possibly be in the footsteps of, well, people that everybody's aware of. Say William Wallace, Robert the Bruce and Mary Queen of Scots, to name a few. There was more. John Knox, he was here as well. Yeah, so I mentioned what's happening around about 1296, 1298, if that's true, don't know. In 1313, what we do know is that Robert the Bruce, King of Scots, who also fought with Wallace, it's a bit of a tricky one that, both sides, fought for the English at times and fought for the Scots at other times. He was also on the side of the Scots, but I think it was his father, and it was about land, but his father wanted them to secure the land basically. But anyway, he was king in 1313 and he visited the castle on numerous occasions, but he was here in 1313 and the castle became a royal castle at that point. It's not hard to believe that because in them days, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Dunfermline was the capital of Scotland, and Dunfermline is literally just down the road from here. I know it's about 15-20 mile, and if you use the motorway you'll be here in no time. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, but certainly within a day's ride, no bother at all to come up here and spend time in this castle. So here we have the Glasson Tower. Obviously it says it was built by Robert Douglas between 1540 and 1560. So we'll just head down. Try not to bump my head. Here we go. Water intake, not too sure what that is. Possibly just a window, but I doubt it. Slot basin, things go water out, that's clever. And possibly just another window. And then we'll come back up. And then this is the upper parts of the tower. Oh, this is a bit better. It's better than being downstairs. I suppose everything's better. Keep out of the fireplace, fallen masonry here. Safety first, and that just goes without saying, guys. You know, these are old buildings. Let's not abuse them and risk ourselves as well. You can obviously see another fireplace up there from the level above us, I would say. You've got a nice fireplace here, again windows all around, a view to the outside of the wall. And then we're going back up again. So yeah, obviously this should be in the second floor, and so you can see the fireplace, etc. So if you want a bit more information, or just want to read the information, just pause the video at this point. So a bit more of the story. So we've covered William Wallace and we've covered Robert the Bruce. And then a couple of hundred years later, So around about 1540, I believe, the Douglas family were given ownership of the castle, and at that point it was no longer a royal castle. On the 17th of June 1567, Mary Queen of Scots was arrested by her nobles and she was imprisoned here. She was still queen at this point. Then on the 24th of July, just over a month later, Mary was forced to abdicate the crown, and she was to give the crown over to her infant son, who became James VI. Mary was, by all accounts, supposedly quite a pretty lady, and there was a few younger gentlemen, shall we say, on the island, and she was also well educated. She was educated in France, so she won them over and tried to help her escape. On the first attempt, she made it to the boat, and it was actually the boatsman who realised that her hands were too clean and too smooth to be the washer lady, because that's what she was disguised as. So unfortunately that escape attempt failed, and one of the brothers, the Douglas brothers, who was involved in that, he got sent to the mainland so that he was well out of the picture. On the 2nd of May 1568, Mary actually did escape properly. She held a party. Well, there was a party held, and at parties people get drunk and what have you, and the youngest Douglas boy, wee Willie Douglas, he actually helped her escape. He managed to make sure everybody was drunk. He stole the keys to the cell, unlocked the cell, they got to the boat and they rowed to the mainland. Halfway out across the loch, he threw the keys into the loch itself, and I believe a few hundred years later the keys were actually found to back up the story and what had actually happened. On the 13th of May the same year, Mary and her army were defeated at the Battle of Langside, and at that point she decided she needed to escape, and she escaped to England, hoping that Elizabeth I would actually protect her and help her retain the crown of Scotland. Unfortunately that didn't happen. Mary was actually ultimately locked up in the Tower of London, and Elizabeth I was actually quite insecure about Mary's good looks, her beauty, and how she got on with people, her education, and rumours started, and rumours grew and grew and grew, and Mary actually had her head chopped off, beheaded, due to the fact that Elizabeth I was threatened for her crown. It never happened. Mary was never planning on doing anything at all. She was grateful for Elizabeth and her protection, but unfortunately the nobles, the blokes again, decided otherwise. It's a tragic end to the story of Mary Queen of Scots. Going to head up the main tower. Kindly built there. It's a metal staircase so we can get up. And here we enter the grand hall of the Tower House. There we go. So the Tower House built between 1300 and 1350 at Loch Leven. The tower was cold and drafty, but for 300 years ago it was a lovely, warm, comfortable residence. I'm sure it was. The roof and walls must have been amazing. I'm sure us peasants wouldn't have had anything like this to live in. As I say, it's amazing to think that somebody like Mary Queen of Scots or Robert the Bruce or William Wallace could have actually sat here and looked out the window the same as I'm doing. So we're heading up to the second floor narrow stairs. So apparently the stairs used to be different sized, and then maybe have a dark loose stair, and it was so if the castle got invaded, the knights that were attacking wouldn't know and they would trip up, whereas the knights who defended the place would know all about it and they wouldn't trip, and just give them an advantage, which makes sense. Just looking down over the lower floor where we were a few seconds ago. There was obviously another floor above us as well. You can see the stones where the beams would have been attached. And there's some great views out the windows. It won't be picked up on the camera, but there's some really good views. Excellent. And here we have like a dumbwaiter type system. The kitchen is below us. And the food would be hoisted up and down through this gap here and then covered over again. So yeah, easy access to the kitchen, so the food would come up, so the people carrying the food didn't have to come up the bendy stairs, and it would probably be impossible. Food would probably get knocked all over if you had to do it that way. So in 1675, the Douglas family moved across to what I showed you earlier, which is Kinross House, and the castle was ultimately abandoned at that point. And then in the 19th century, Historic Scotland have taken over the upkeep of it, and it's now a tourist attraction. It's a wonderful day out. There's picnic benches everywhere. The pheasants, the boat ride, great for the kids during the summer holiday. There's probably one or two ghost stories you could probably tell in there as well. Yeah, really liked it. Really good day out, well worth the visit, and it also helps maintain the history of our magnificent country. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, give the video a like, leave any comments, any mistakes I've made. I would always like to learn, and subscribe to the channel would be amazing. As I always say, get out, enjoy yourself, because adventure awaits. Take care. Thanks for watching. We're just heading back to the launch now. As you can see, the next boat's coming in, so perfect timing. What a cracking day it is. Lovely day. It was forecast for the weather to be like this, but when I left the house this morning, it certainly wasn't like this, hence I've got my coat on. But you know, that's Scotland for you.